Chosen one, look at the timeline you're living in right now. The same people who laughed when your name came up, the ones who rolled their eyes, who called you dramatic, who said you'd never pull this off. They're in your comments today. Hearts, fire emojis. So proud of you. That's not growth. That's not forgiveness. That's hunger. The same mouths that fed you to the wolves are now begging for a seat at your table. And the only thing that changed between then and now isn't their character. It's your value. That's the whole story tonight, chosen one. That's the whole ugly, obvious, undeniable story. You didn't imagine the hate. You didn't imagine the silence when you needed someone in your corner. You remember every version of it. The group chats that went quiet the second you walked in. The compliments that came with a smirk attached. The "I'm just being honest" energy dressed up as concern. And you also remember exactly who wasn't there. So when those same faces show up now, smiling wide, arms open, talking like they were rooting for you the whole time, something in you should not relax. Something in you should sharpen. Because this isn't redemption. This is repositioning. People don't usually rewrite their whole personality overnight. What changes is what they think they can get from you. And chosen one, right now, they think they can get a lot. This is the part they were never planning on you noticing. They thought the flip would be smooth. They thought a few kind words and a well-timed comment would erase the years of distance, the years of talking down to you, the years of betting against you in rooms you weren't even in. They thought you'd be so happy to finally be accepted that you wouldn't stop to ask the only question that actually matters. Why now? Not why are they nice. Why now? Timing tells the truth that words are trained to hide. And once you start asking that one simple question, the whole performance falls apart in your hands like wet paper. Here's what nobody warned you about becoming someone worth watching. The hate doesn't disappear when you rise. It just changes its clothes. It learns to smile. It learns to clap on cue. It learns to say the right sentence at the right moment, because it figured out that open hostility stopped working the second you stopped needing their approval to keep moving. So it adapted. Not because it respects you now, because it needs something from where you're standing, and the only way in is through the front door marked, "I always believed in you." Before we go further, chosen one, take care of the mission the same way it's taking care of you. Hit like, hit subscribe, and let this message travel to the next person who's staring at a comment section full of people who used to look right through them. This isn't about ego. It's about making sure the ones still stuck in that confusion get handed the same clarity you're about to walk into. You've watched this shift happen slowly, then all at once. First it was the silence that softened. Then it was the distant congrats, typed by someone who never texted you first in years. Then it was the tagging, the sharing, the sudden interest in a life they used to mock behind closed doors. Each step small enough to explain away, until one day you looked up and realized the room had completely rearranged itself around your success, and every single person doing the rearranging used to be the one applauding your struggle. That's not a coincidence, chosen one. That's a pattern, and patterns don't lie the way people do. Chosen one, are you ready to break this whole thing down piece by piece? Because what's happening around you right now isn't random kindness. It's calculated proximity. Drop a 77 in the comments if you can feel exactly what I'm talking about, if you've already caught them switching their whole tone the moment your name started meaning something. Let's go step by step, and by the end, you won't just see the hypocrisy. You'll understand exactly why it showed up, and exactly what it wants from you. Number 1. The costume change nobody asked them to perform. They didn't apologize. Notice that first, chosen one, before anything else. They didn't sit you down and say what they actually did. They didn't name the years of side eyes, the jokes at your expense, the quiet campaigns to make you feel small enough to stay in your place. None of that got mentioned. Instead, they just changed outfits. One day, they're the person who used your name as a punchline, and the next day, they're commenting, "Always knew you had it in you," like history got quietly deleted and nobody bothered to tell you. That's not a transformation. That's a costume change performed for an audience, and the audience is you. Real change comes with acknowledgement. Real change says, "I was wrong, and here's exactly how." Real change doesn't need an audience to witness it, because it's not for show, it's for repair. What you're watching instead is a performance with no script changes except the ending. They kept every belief that made them treat you like less. They just learned it's no longer safe to say it out loud. Imagine an actor playing the villain for 3 acts, then walking out for the curtain call, smiling like the hero the whole time. The crowd claps because they don't know any better. But you were backstage. You saw every scene. Here's the part that should sting a little, because it's supposed to. They're not embarrassed about what they did to you. They're only embarrassed that it's now visible how wrong they were to bet against you. Those are 2 completely different things, and confusing them is exactly how good people end up reopening doors that should stay locked. Shame over being caught looking foolish is not the same as remorse over having caused harm. One is about their reputation, the other would be about you. Watch closely and you'll see which one you're actually being offered. Ask yourself something honest. If your success had never happened, if things had gone quiet and small the way they were hoping, would this person be in your comments right now? Would they be liking every post, showing up early, calling you their friend in public? You already know the answer, and the answer is the whole point. Their affection isn't loyalty, it's a reaction to your rise. It didn't exist before the rise, so it isn't really about you at all. It's about what your rise means for them. You don't have to announce any of this. You don't have to call them out in a comment section or make a scene proving a point nobody around you is ready to hear yet. You just have to keep your eyes open while they keep performing. Let them clap. Let them post the story with your name in it. Let them play the supportive friend they refuse to be when it actually cost them something. You're not required to correct the performance. You're only required to remember it's one. Think about what it costs you to keep watching quietly instead of confronting it out loud. Almost nothing, chosen one. Confrontation gives a performance an audience, and performances need an audience to survive. Silence starves it. You can be warm back, polite back, even friendly back, without ever handing over the trust that used to come free. Let the costume change happen in front of you. You already know what's underneath it, and knowing is enough. It doesn't need to be said out loud to be true, and it doesn't need their agreement to stay true either. Number 2, they didn't change, your value did. This is the truth. Chosen ones eventually have to swallow whether they like the taste or not. People rarely evolve out of nowhere. Growth takes time, effort, discomfort, honesty with the mirror, none of which most people are willing to sit through unless something forces them to. So when someone who spent years dismissing you suddenly seems evolved overnight, the more likely explanation isn't a personal awakening, it's an external shift. And the most obvious external shift in the room is you. Think about the timeline honestly. Before your rise, you were easy to overlook, easy to interrupt, easy to leave off the group chat, easy to talk about instead of talk to. Your presence cost them nothing, so they treated it like it was worth nothing. Now your presence carries weight. It carries visibility. It carries proximity to something they want a piece of, whether that's status, opportunity, or simply the comfort of being able to say they knew you before. Suddenly you're not easy to overlook anymore. Funny how that works. Imagine a house nobody wanted to live near until word got out that a park was being built 2 blocks away. Same house, same walls, same foundation. But now everyone's suddenly interested in the neighborhood. Nobody upgraded the house. The surroundings changed the perception of its worth. That's exactly what's happening to you right now. You are the same person who sat alone at the table they wouldn't come near. The table didn't change. The view from it did. This matters because it tells you something important about the praise landing in your inbox. It was never about who you are as a person. If it were, it would have shown up years ago, when you needed it most, when a single kind word could have carried you through something heavy. It didn't show up then because there was nothing in it for them then. It's showing up now because there finally is. That's not a compliment. That's a transaction disguised as one. You get to decide what you do with this knowledge, chosen one, and revenge isn't required. But clarity is. Let their sudden warmth remind you exactly what it's built on, so you never confuse convenience for character again. Their praise is real in the sense that it's really happening. It is not real in the sense that it reflects who they actually think you are underneath the performance. There's a strange kind of grief hiding underneath this realization, if you let yourself feel it honestly instead of rushing past it. You wanted the version of this warmth that would have arrived years ago, back when it could have actually meant something, back when a single ally might have made the hardest season lighter to carry. That version never came. What arrived instead is a delayed echo, dressed up to look like the real thing, showing up only once the risk had already been absorbed entirely by you. You're allowed to grieve that timing, without letting it convince you the warmth in front of you now is worth more than it actually is. Number 3. The apology that skips the crime. Listen closely to how they phrase things now, because hypocrisy always leaves fingerprints in the language. Notice how their new kindness never actually names what came before it. They'll say, "Life is too short for bad energy," without ever admitting they were the bad energy. They'll say, "So happy people are finally seeing you clearly," without ever admitting they were the ones who refused to see you at all. It's praise with the crime scene cleaned up, compliments with the evidence quietly removed before anyone can walk through and ask questions. A real apology has weight because it has specifics. It says, "I mocked you in front of people, and that was cruel." It says, "I left you out on purpose, and I knew it would hurt." Specifics are uncomfortable to say out loud because they force the person saying them to actually sit in what they did. That discomfort is the whole point. It's what makes an apology mean something instead of just sound like something. What you're getting instead is a vague, cozy little sentence with all the sharp edges filed off, built to make everyone feel good and nobody feel responsible. Picture someone stepping on your foot in a crowded room, hard enough to leave a mark, and instead of saying sorry for stepping on your foot, they just smile and say, "Isn't it a beautiful day?" Technically, they said something pleasant. Technically, the air between you feels lighter for a second, but your foot still hurts, and they never once acknowledged why. That's the shape of the apology you're not getting. Warm words wrapped around an empty center. This vagueness isn't an accident, chosen one. It's strategy, even if they don't consciously call it that. Naming the specific harm would require them to actually own it, and owning it might mean you'd expect something from them, an explanation, a change in behavior, real accountability. Staying vague keeps all the warmth and none of the responsibility. It lets them collect the benefit of appearing kind without ever paying the cost of admitting they weren't. You don't need to demand the apology you never got. Chasing it usually just gives them another opportunity to perform sincerity they don't feel. What you need is simply to notice the shape of what's missing. When kindness shows up without accountability standing next to it, you're not looking at repair, you're looking at rebranding. And rebranding doesn't deserve the same trust that repair would have earned. Watch for the difference between someone who says sorry and someone who simply says, "Things sound sweeter now." One requires courage. The other only requires a working memory of which words tend to land well in public. Chosen one, you were never confused about what happened to you. Don't let a softly worded, carefully vague sentence talk you into pretending you were. The clearest sign that an apology is real is that it survives you asking a follow-up question. Most of what's arriving in your comments right now would collapse the second you asked, "Sorry for what?" exactly. Number 4. Clout dressed up as celebration. Here's something that will change how you read every single comment from here forward. Some people aren't celebrating you. They're celebrating being seen near you. There's a difference, and once you learn to spot it, you'll never unsee it again. The person who genuinely celebrates you wants good things for you, even when nobody's watching them do it. The person chasing clout wants to be photographed standing next to your good things, so some of the light reflects onto them. Watch how loud they get in public compared to how present they were in private. If someone was invisible during your hardest seasons, but suddenly becomes your biggest cheerleader the moment there's an audience to perform for, that's not support. That's positioning. They're not lifting you up. They're climbing onto your platform because it's currently the tallest thing in the room, and being seen next to something tall makes a person look taller by association, even if they never lifted a single brick to help build it. Imagine someone who refused to help carry a couch up 3 flights of stairs, who stood at the bottom complaining the whole climb was a bad idea, but the second the couch reaches the top floor and everyone's admiring the view, they rush up to pose next to it like they carried it themselves. That's the energy. They didn't do the labor. They just wanted the photo. And chosen one, you carried every single step of that couch alone, in silence, while they watched from the bottom floor, calling it unnecessary. The tell is always proportion. Genuine support tends to be steady, private, consistent, whether or not anyone's watching. Clout-chasing support is loud, public, and timed perfectly to moments with visibility attached. It shows up in the comments, but never in the hard conversations. It shows up in the tags, but never in the check-ins. It wants proximity to the win without ever having invested in the version of you that existed before the win. You're allowed to accept their public praise without handing them private trust. Let them stand near the light if that's what they need. Just remember, they didn't build the light. You did, alone, while they were busy calling it a phase. There's a simple test worth running the next time someone new shows up, eager to be associated with your success. Ask yourself whether they've ever asked how you actually built any of it. The hours, the failures, the version of the plan that didn't work before you found the one that did. Clout chasers rarely ask that question because the answer doesn't matter to them. They're not interested in the mechanics of your rise. They're interested in the optics of standing near it. Genuine people ask about the process because they actually want to understand you. Everyone else just wants the photo. Number 5. Selective amnesia and why it's never accidental. Pay attention to how easily they seem to have forgotten. Not forgotten in the vague, human way memory naturally fades. Forgotten in the specific, convenient way that only ever seems to erase the parts that make them look bad. They remember your birthday now. They remember your achievements now. They remember to comment on your posts now. But somehow, they don't remember the comment they made about you 2 years ago that you never actually stopped thinking about. Memory doesn't work that selectively unless something is choosing what gets to survive. This is the part that trips people up, chosen one, because forgetting looks so innocent on the surface. It looks passive. It looks like something that just happens to people, the way dust settles on furniture nobody's touched in a while. But selective amnesia isn't passive. It's protective. Forgetting the harm they caused lets them approach you without the discomfort of having to reckon with it. If they don't bring it up, maybe you won't either. And if nobody brings it up, It becomes easier to pretend it simply didn't happen the way you remember it happening. Imagine someone borrowing money from you and never paying it back, then years later showing up, asking to borrow your car, acting completely surprised when you hesitate. In their mind, the debt was never real enough to remember. In your mind, it never stopped being real. That gap between what they conveniently forgot and what you were forced to carry, that gap is the entire relationship in miniature. It tells you everything about who's been keeping score and who's been counting on nobody keeping score at all. You are not required to remind them. You are not required to produce a list of every slight just to prove your memory is intact. Their forgetting is information, and information doesn't need your commentary to be useful. It simply needs your attention. Notice what they conveniently left out of the new, friendlier version of the story they're telling about your relationship. Notice how smooth the narrative sounds once the inconvenient parts have been quietly edited out. Real accountability doesn't get selective amnesia. It gets specific, it gets uncomfortable, and it survives contact with the truth instead of avoiding it. What you're witnessing instead is editing, not honesty, and editing always benefits the person holding the pen. Here's the uncomfortable part, chosen one. Their forgetting works because most people are conditioned to be polite about it, to let sleeping conversations lie, to avoid seeming petty for remembering something clearly. But remembering isn't pettiness, it's simply an accurate record, and an accurate record is exactly what protects you from being talked into a friendship that only exists because one side conveniently misplaced the receipts. You don't have to correct their version out loud. You just have to keep your own version intact, quietly, privately, unaffected by how confidently they've rewritten theirs. Number 6. Riding the wave they once tried to sink. There's a particular kind of audacity in watching someone paddle out to catch a wave they spent years trying to make sure never formed in the first place. That's exactly what's happening around you right now, chosen one, whether you've named it that way yet or not. The people currently riding the momentum of your success are, in many cases, the same people who doubted the momentum would ever exist. They told you to be realistic. They told you to lower your expectations. They told you, in one soft-spoken, discouraging comment after another, that the wave you were building toward was never actually going to reach the shore. And now that it has, now that it's undeniable, now that everyone can see it crashing exactly where you said it would, they're not standing on the beach admitting they were wrong. They're paddling straight into it, hoping the current carries them along for a while. It's a strange kind of nerve, honestly, to spend years telling someone their vision was unrealistic, and then to show up the moment that vision becomes reality, acting like you were always in the same boat, rowing in the same direction, believing the same thing the whole time. Picture two people standing at the edge of a cliff. One says, "Don't jump, you'll never survive it." The other jumps anyway, builds wings on the way down, and lands somewhere neither of them could have imagined. And the one who stayed behind, who never believed it was possible, starts telling everyone afterward that they always knew the wings would work. That's the audacity you're watching in real time. Doubt rebranded as belief, after the fact, with zero risk taken and full credit requested. The uncomfortable truth is that riding a wave costs nothing. It requires no vision, no risk, no faith, when faith was actually expensive to hold. It only requires timing and showing up right after someone else did the terrifying work of proving something was possible. That's not partnership. That's opportunism wearing the outfit of loyalty. You don't have to push them off the wave publicly. Let them ride it, if that's what makes them comfortable. Just don't confuse their presence in the water now with their presence on the shore, back when it actually mattered. One took courage, the other only took timing. There's something almost comedic about watching someone rewrite their own role in a story you lived through firsthand. They'll talk about your rise like it was inevitable, like doubt was never really in the room, like their support was quiet and steady the entire time instead of non-existent. You don't need to correct the record loudly. You were there. The people who were also actually there know the truth too, and those are the only witnesses whose memory matters. Let the latecomers rewrite history for an audience that wasn't watching closely enough to know better. Number 7. Fear wearing a smile. Not every sudden nice word is about wanting something from you. Sometimes it's about being afraid of what happens if they don't offer it. Fear is a powerful motivator for hypocrisy. Chosen one, maybe even more powerful than greed, because fear doesn't need to see a direct reward to act. It just needs to sense a risk and move to protect itself from it. And right now, the people who used to treat you carelessly are sensing a very specific risk. The risk of being remembered as the ones who didn't believe in you when it would have mattered most. Nobody wants to be the villain in a story that's now being told publicly and often. Nobody wants to be the name people whisper when they talk about who doubted you, who dismissed you, who treated you like you'd never amount to what you're currently becoming. So instead of sitting quietly with the discomfort of having been wrong, some people rush to rewrite their role before the story fully sets. A smile now feels a lot safer than being remembered as the person standing in your way back then. Picture someone who spent years mocking a stray dog in the neighborhood, calling it useless, kicking dirt near it out of pure boredom, and then watching that same dog grow into something powerful and respected. Suddenly that person is the first to offer it a treat in public, smiling wide for anyone watching, terrified of what it would mean to be remembered as the one who used to kick dirt. The smile isn't kindness, it's self-preservation dressed up to look friendly. This is why some of the warmest words you're receiving right now carry a strange, nervous energy underneath them if you pay close attention. There's an eagerness to it, a slight overcorrection, a tone that tries a little too hard to sound like it was always this supportive. Genuine warmth doesn't need to convince you it was always there. It just is. What needs convincing is usually hiding something it doesn't want examined too closely. You can accept the smile without needing to trust the fear behind it. Let them protect their own image, if that's what they need to do. Just remember the difference between someone who's proud of you and someone who's simply relieved they got ahead of the story before it named them. There's a way to tell the two apart if you watch long enough. Someone who's genuinely proud of you keeps being proud of you in the small moments too, the ones with no story attached, the ordinary Tuesday with nothing to perform for. Someone who's only relieved tends to fade the moment the spotlight moves elsewhere, because their warmth was never really about you in the first place. It was about managing a risk. Once the risk passes, so does the smile. Give it time, chosen one. Time is the only thing that reliably separates fear from affection. Number 8. They want the reward without ever wanting the risk. Here's something worth sitting with, chosen one, even if it stings a little on the way in. Nobody was standing beside you during the years that actually built what you have now. Nobody was there for the version of you still figuring things out, still failing quietly, still getting back up without an audience clapping. That version of you was expensive to believe in, because believing in it meant risking being wrong, risking looking foolish for supporting someone who hadn't proven anything yet. Almost nobody wanted to take that risk, but now that the risk has paid off, suddenly everyone wants a piece of the return. That's the pattern hiding underneath most of this sudden praise. They want the reward stage without ever having shown up for the risk stage. They want to be associated with the finished product without ever having sat through the mess of the process. It's like showing up at the finish line of a marathon you never ran, asking for a medal because you happened to be standing near the tape when it broke. The exhaustion, the training, the mornings nobody saw, none of that belonged to them. Only the photo at the end does, if you let them into the frame. Think about a farmer who plants a field alone, waters it through every difficult season, pulls weeds with bleeding hands, while neighbors laugh over the fence about how the soil was probably too rocky to grow anything worthwhile. Then harvest comes in heavy and golden, and suddenly those same neighbors are at the gate, asking for a basket, talking about how they always believed the land had potential. The land didn't grow because of their belief. It grew because someone stayed in the field, when belief was the hardest thing to hold on to. You get to decide who gets a basket and who doesn't. Chosen one. That's not bitterness. That's ownership of something you built with your own two hands, while people who are only now interested watched from a safe, uninvested distance. Reward without risk isn't partnership. It's an invoice nobody agreed to sign, handed to you after the hardest work is already finished. Here's what makes this particular pattern so easy to miss at first. It rarely shows up as an outright request. It shows up softer than that. A comment here, a like there, a slow drift back into your orbit that feels casual enough not to raise alarms. But patience is part of the strategy. Nobody wants to look obvious, so the approach gets stretched out over weeks, sometimes months, until proximity feels natural enough that asking for something doesn't feel like asking anymore. Slow doesn't mean innocent. Sometimes slow just means careful. Before we move further into this, chosen one, if you've already spotted someone in your own life doing exactly this, showing up now with a smile after showing up with nothing back then, drop a 77 in the comments. Let it be your quiet confirmation that you see the pattern clearly, that you're not confusing convenience for loyalty anymore. And if this message is landing somewhere real tonight, the super thanks button helps keep messages like this one reaching the people who still need to hear it. Number 9. Weaponized kindness and how it gets back in the door. Kindness is supposed to be simple. It's supposed to exist without conditions, without an agenda quietly running underneath it. But there's a version of kindness that isn't simple at all, a version that functions more like a key than a gift, engineered specifically to unlock a door that closed for good reason. That's what you need to watch for right now, chosen one, because some of the warmth coming your way isn't affection. It's access, wrapped carefully enough to look like something softer. Notice how quickly the compliments turn into requests. First it's admiration, then it's a favor, then it's an introduction to someone you know, then it's asking to be part of something you built without them. The kindness was never really about you at all. It was the entry fee for a door they'd been standing outside of for years. A door your success finally made worth trying to open again. Genuine kindness doesn't come with a follow-up ask attached to it within the same conversation. It just exists, patient, without expecting anything back. Picture a locksmith who spends years insisting a particular door will never open, mocking anyone who tries, and then one day discovers the door actually leads somewhere valuable. Suddenly, that same locksmith is showing up with flowers, complimenting the woodwork, talking sweetly about how beautiful the door always was. The compliments aren't about the door, they're about what's on the other side of it. And you, chosen one, are allowed to notice the difference between someone admiring your door and someone trying to pick its lock with soft words instead of tools. This is why boundaries matter more now than they ever have, not less. Success tends to convince people that being open again is a reward you owe the world simply for having made it. It isn't. You don't owe access to anyone who spent years content to watch you struggle without lifting a hand to help. Kindness that shows up asking for something within the same breath it offers. Something isn't kindness. It's a transaction wearing a disguise, and disguises exist specifically to get past the people who'd otherwise say no. You can be gracious without being available. You can accept a compliment without handing over a key. Weaponized kindness only works on people who've forgotten they're allowed to simply say, "That's nice," and also, "No." The hardest part of this particular lesson, chosen one, is that saying no to kindness feels rude even when the kindness isn't clean. Nobody trains you to distrust a compliment. Nobody teaches you that warmth can carry a hook inside it. So when it arrives wrapped in a smile, most people wave it straight through the door without checking what it's actually carrying. Give yourself permission to check anyway. A boundary held gently is still a boundary, and you're not required to apologize for having one just because it was delivered kindly. Number 10. The silent ones just found their voice, and only now. There's a particular category of hypocrisy that hides better than the rest because it never looked like an attack in the first place. It's the people who said nothing while you were being dragged, who watched quietly from the sidelines and called their silence neutrality, who told themselves staying out of it was the mature, responsible choice. And now, watching your rise from a comfortable distance, they've suddenly discovered strong opinions, loud support, public praise. Funny how silence only ever seems to break once it's safe. Silence in the middle of someone's hardest season was never neutral, chosen one, no matter how it was dressed up at the time. Neutrality would have meant staying equally quiet now, equally uninvolved, equally hands-off. Instead, the same people who couldn't find a single word of defense for you back then have found an entire vocabulary of admiration for you now. That shift proves the silence was never about staying out of drama. It was about staying safe from consequences, and consequences only existed when standing up for you might have cost something. Imagine watching someone drown from the shore, doing nothing because getting wet felt inconvenient, and then swimming out proudly to shake their hand the moment they reach dry land under their own strength. The applause on the beach means nothing next to the absence in the water. You survived that season without their voice. Their sudden willingness to use it now doesn't erase the silence. It just proves the silence was a choice, not a limitation. You don't have to reject their new opinions outright. People are allowed to grow into courage late. But late courage deserves a different kind of trust than early courage does, and pretending otherwise sets you up to be disappointed by the same pattern the next time staying quiet feels safer than standing beside you. Watch whether their voice shows up again the next time it costs something. That's the real test, not this one. There's a version of this that deserves fairness too, chosen one, because not every quiet person was quiet out of cowardice. Some were genuinely unaware, genuinely learning, genuinely working up the nerve they didn't have back then. Growth is real, and it happens on its own timeline. The difference you're watching for isn't whether someone changed, it's whether the change actually cost them anything, or whether it conveniently arrived exactly when speaking up finally became free. Give credit where the timing earns it. Withhold it where the timing exposes it instead. Number 11. Your calm is the thing they can't forgive. Here's something that will make sense of a lot of the strange energy you've been feeling lately, chosen one. Part of what's driving this sudden wave of fake warmth isn't just admiration for what you've built. It's discomfort with how steady you stayed while building it. They expected you to break. They expected the years of dismissal, the exclusion, the quiet cruelty, to eventually wear you down into someone bitter, someone loud, someone easy to point at and say, "See, we were right about them." Instead, you stayed calm. You kept moving, and your calm is a mirror they were never prepared to look into. People who caused harm generally feel more comfortable when the person they harmed reacts the way they expected. Anger they can dismiss as instability. Bitterness they can use as proof they were justified all along. But composure, quiet, unshaken composure, gives them nothing to work with. It doesn't confirm their old story about you. It contradicts it completely. And contradiction is uncomfortable enough that some people would rather rewrite their entire relationship to you than sit with it. Picture someone throwing rocks at a wall for years, expecting cracks to eventually show, expecting the structure to weaken under repeated pressure. Instead, the wall just stands there, unaffected, quietly getting taller with every season that passes. Eventually, the rock throwers get tired, not because they feel guilty, but because throwing rocks at something indestructible starts to feel pointless and, worse, starts to make them look small. So they put the rocks down and start clapping instead, hoping nobody remembers what they were doing with their hands a year ago. Your calm isn't luck, and it isn't an accident either. It's the direct result of refusing to give people who never earned access to your peace the power to disturb it. That refusal built something in you they can feel even now, something steady enough that their sudden closeness feels less like celebration and more like standing near something they don't fully understand and never had the patience to build themselves. You don't owe anyone an explanation for how you stayed grounded. Let your calm keep confusing people who were counting on your collapse. Confusion, in this case, is simply the sound of an old, wrong story finally running out of evidence to lean on. There's a quiet kind of power in refusing to perform for people who spent years hoping to watch you fall apart. Every day you keep showing up steady is a day their old prediction about you fails to come true again. You're not obligated to explain that steadiness to anyone, least of all the people who never earned a front row seat to how you built it. Let it stay a mystery to them. Some things are only understood by people who were actually there for the work, and the hypocrites, by definition, were not. Number 12. The timing that gives away the whole game. If you want to know exactly how honest someone's sudden support really is, stop listening to their words for a second and start watching their clock instead. Timing has a way of exposing intention that language never can, because words can be rehearsed and softened and dressed up to sound sincere, but timing just happens, unplanned, revealing exactly what triggered the change in the first place. And chosen one, the timing here is loud if you're willing to actually look at it. Ask yourself plainly, did this warmth appear gradually, quietly, over months of consistent small gestures that had nothing to do with visibility? Or did it appear suddenly, right around the exact moment your success became impossible to ignore? If it's the second one, the timing is telling you everything the words are trying to hide. Support that only shows up once there's something to gain from showing up isn't early. It's opportunistic, arriving precisely when arriving became worth the effort. Picture two people watching a garden grow from opposite sides of a fence. One waters it quietly through every dry season, never announcing the effort, never asking for credit. The other complains about the weeds for years, then shows up exactly when the flowers finally bloom, posing for a photo among them like they'd been tending the soil the whole time. The bloom didn't summon the second person out of love for gardening. It summoned them because blooming flowers finally became something worth being photographed near. This is why chosen ones have to train themselves to notice sequence, not just sentiment. A kind sentence can be manufactured in seconds. A pattern of timing takes real evidence to build, and evidence doesn't lie the way carefully chosen words sometimes do. When you line up exactly when someone's tone shifted against exactly when your circumstances shifted, and the two dates sit suspiciously close together, you're not looking at coincidence. You're looking at a cause and effect relationship they'd rather you not examine too closely. Trust timing more than tone from here forward, chosen one. Tone can be rehearsed in front of a mirror. Timing can only be caught in the wild, and the wild rarely lies. Once you start paying attention to timing this closely, you'll notice it applies to more than just kindness. It applies to apologies, to reconnections, to sudden invitations back into rooms you were once quietly pushed out of. Almost none of it happens in a vacuum. Almost all of it lines up with some visible shift in your circumstances, if you're willing to trace the dates carefully enough. That's not paranoia, chosen one. That's just arithmetic. And arithmetic doesn't care how sincere someone sounds while the numbers are telling a different story. Number 13. Real ones never needed convincing. While you're busy noticing the hypocrisy of the newly arrived, don't let it drown out something equally important standing quietly in the background. Somewhere in your life, there are people who never needed your success to start believing in you. People whose warmth predates the applause by years, whose loyalty was inconvenient, unglamorous, and completely unrewarded at the time they gave it. Those people deserve your attention just as much as the hypocrites deserve your scrutiny, maybe more. Real ones don't require proof before offering support. They don't wait for a stage, a spotlight, a headline, before deciding you're worth standing beside. They showed up in the version of your story nobody was reading yet, in the chapters with no audience, no likes, no comments, confirming they'd made the right call. That kind of belief is expensive precisely because it comes with no guarantee of a return. Most people aren't willing to pay that price. The ones who did are the ones worth keeping close now that the price has finally paid off. Picture someone who invests in a small, unknown company years before anyone else believes it has potential, staying invested through every rough quarter, every skeptical headline, every moment it would have been easier to pull out and cut their losses. When that company finally succeeds, their reward isn't just financial, it's the quiet satisfaction of having believed correctly when belief was actually a risk. That's the kind of investor you want standing near your life, not the ones who bought in after the stock had already soared, trying to claim they saw it coming the whole time. It's easy, chosen one, to get so focused on exposing the hypocrites that you forget to properly honor the ones who never needed exposing in the first place, because they never pretended to be anything other than consistent. Go find those people. Thank them plainly, without needing a reason. Let them know their early, uncelebrated belief mattered more than every loud, late compliment currently flooding your notifications combined. The hypocrites will keep clapping, regardless of what you do with your attention. Make sure the people who clapped quietly, back when clapping cost them something, know they were seen too. This is the part of the lesson that keeps you soft instead of hardened, and softness matters here, chosen one. The goal was never to become someone who trusts nobody. The goal is to become someone who trusts accurately, who reserves the deepest access for the people who actually earned it through consistency, not through convenient timing. Getting sharper about hypocrites doesn't have to make you colder toward everyone. It should, if anything, make you warmer toward the small handful of people who never needed a reason to stay. Number 14. What their hypocrisy actually reveals, and it isn't about you. Here's the shift in perspective that changes everything, chosen one, and it's worth holding on to long after this video ends. Every bit of hypocrisy you've been watching unfold, the sudden warmth, the selective memory, the timed reappearance, none of it is actually a statement about your worth. It never was. It's a statement about theirs. People reveal their own values in exactly the moments they choose convenience over consistency. And every hypocritical smile aimed at you right now is quietly exposing far more about the person wearing it than it says about you standing on the receiving end. Someone who only respects strength once it's already proven, who only extends kindness once it's safe, who only remembers the good parts once the inconvenient parts have faded from public view. That person is showing you exactly how they operate under pressure. And pressure is where character actually lives. Anyone can be pleasant when nothing is at stake. It's what people do when something is at stake, when honesty might cost them a friendship, or a follower, or a comfortable narrative. That tells you who they really are underneath the performance. Picture a weather vane spinning freely with every gust of wind, pointing wherever the current pressure happens to be blowing. It's not lying exactly, It's just responding to whatever force is strongest in the moment, with no fixed direction of its own. That's what hypocrisy looks like up close. Not necessarily evil, not necessarily calculated in some dramatic villain sense, just weak, directionless, entirely dependent on which way the wind of public opinion happens to be blowing that week. Understanding this should change how much power you let their behavior have over your peace. You're not the one with the problem here, chosen one, even though hypocrisy has a strange way of making the person on the receiving end feel like they're the one being unreasonable for noticing it. You're not unreasonable. You're paying attention, and paying attention to a pattern isn't cruelty. It's self-respect, wearing a quieter outfit. Let their inconsistency be information you carry forward, not a wound you keep reopening. You don't need them to become honest people for you to move forward as one yourself. This is also why chasing an apology from a hypocrite rarely satisfies the way people expect it to. Even if you got the words, the specific ones, the accountable ones, some part of you would still know they only arrived because circumstances forced them out, not because honesty finally won on its own. Real peace doesn't come from extracting the right sentence out of the wrong person. It comes from no longer needing that sentence at all to know exactly what happened and exactly what it meant. Number 15. You see clearly now, and that clarity is the real win. This is where it lands, chosen one, and it lands somewhere calmer than anger, even though anger would be an understandable place to stop. The biggest hypocrisy you've watched unfold around your own rise was never actually designed to hurt you further. It was designed to be invisible, to slide past you disguised as celebration, hoping you'd be too flattered, too relieved, too tired from the climb to notice the shape underneath the smiles. It almost worked, because that's exactly how it's designed to work on people who deserve real support and are finally being offered a fake version of it. But you noticed. That's the entire difference between where you are right now and where they thought you'd be. They expected gratitude to make you blind. Instead, gratitude for the people who stayed made you sharper about the people who only just arrived. That sharpness isn't bitterness, no matter how many times someone tries to convince you it is. It's discernment. And discernment is what protects everything you've built from being slowly hollowed out by people who only want to stand near it, not add to it. Imagine walking through a door you built with your own hands, into a home you furnished through years nobody was watching, and suddenly noticing strangers wandering through the rooms, admiring the furniture, taking photos, acting like guests who somehow forgot they were never invited to help build any of it. You get to decide who actually gets a key. You get to decide who simply gets to admire the house from the doorway before being shown back outside, politely, without a single ounce of guilt weighing you down for choosing your own boundaries. None of this requires a confrontation. None of this requires proving a point to anyone who's clearly more interested in your reflection than your reality. All it requires is exactly what you're doing right now. Watching closely, remembering accurately, letting the timing speak louder than the compliments ever could. The hypocrites will keep performing regardless of whether you clap along, and that's fine. Let them perform for an audience that isn't paying attention anymore. You already know who was there. You already know who wasn't. And now, chosen one, you know exactly what to do with people who only remembered your name once it started meaning something. If this message found you at the right moment, drop a 77 in the comments and let it be your marker, proof that you see the difference now between people who celebrate you and people who are only celebrating being seen next to you. Like this video, subscribe if you haven't yet, and share it with the chosen one in your circle who's still confusing convenient kindness for real loyalty. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Take care and goodbye.